Hey, what's up? I'm X, and I have been having so much fun with Trailblazer, and I know that so many people pick the desert region to either master or learn Tombs of Amascut. This video is going to serve the purpose of either teaching those players some new tricks, or just showing you how to do it in Trailblazer. I'm going to show you the methods that I've been using to get through the Tombs of Amascut, since I've been doing it since about day 2 of Trailblazer. I've picked up some things and I just want to let you know how I've been doing them. These aren't necessarily the concrete and best ways to do them, but it's how I've been doing it, and I think it'll help you get through them as well. I'm going to make a couple assumptions in this video, and I'm going to assume that you have not done the Tombs of Amascut in Trailblazer yet. I'm also going to assume that you have a general idea of who they are, like the bosses in the rooms, and what they do roughly, but I'm still going to run you through every room and what to do and what to expect. So just like myself, many players have chosen the Mage relic when picking Desert because they hope to get the Shadow and use that basically everywhere. Magic is what I am primarily based on, but I believe that these methods that I will be showing you work with every relic. You're obviously just going to have to get in melee range instead of Mage and, you know, what have you. A couple things that are also going to change up this video is that I have Berserker as well as the Sage's Axe, so I will be killing every boss at 20%, and I will be lowering my HP whenever available to get more max hits, and when I start the room I'll be hitting my max hit about 2 or 3 times. That being said, let's get right into it. I like to start my raids off with Z-Back because the reason is I like to plan my salts around Baba and Akka towards the end, as my accuracy currently with the Trident is just not as good as I would like it to be. There's really nothing special in the first room, aside from make sure that you're using your jugs manually on both the waterfall and the plant, to make it a little bit faster. If you do this and don't miss any time at all, you should beat the crocodiles every time. Now heading into Z-Back, if you have the Berserker relic like I do, you will be able to get a couple max hits off before you really enter the room. He's likely going to start his special attacks very quickly depending on how much damage you're doing. This wave attack here, there will be gaps in the waves that you have to move around and get through. Or you can skip like I do here, and if you want another tutorial on that, I have a video. I'll put it in the description. If he shoots out a pot, pray Mage. If he shoots out a rock, pray Range. There's also a special attack where he will lay out a lot of acid all over the battlefield. You need to push a pot into one of those rocks or nearby and then shoot a pot to clear the acid around it with the water from the jug. You are safe for 3 tiles behind the rock. Wait till he does his roar and then continue the fight like normal. There's also these little blood guys, just stay away from them and you'll be fine. And that is Z-Back. Utilize whatever relics you have to make this fight as fast as possible. For Berserker, keep low HP and don't get hit. And for the axe, throw that axe. Next, we're going to head into Krey. Krey's puzzle room is pretty simple, but if you don't already have the Tombs of Amascut puzzle solver plugin, I would encourage you to grab that so that you don't have to think and it marks things just like it's doing here for me. Also try to avoid the giant obelisk puzzle because it takes the most time out of all of them. Once you've made it through the puzzle, you're in Krey. Head into Krey's room and start attacking her. If you have Berserker like I do, your first 2 to 3 hits will be your max hits, and that's going to help a lot. After you've done your first couple of max hits, head to the other side of Krey and begin to wait for the dung attack. When the dung attack happens, you'll want to be on the east wall to minimize any obstacles. You can use this crazy amount of tiles that I have here, or just try to slim them down. It's Trailblazer, it really doesn't matter. After she does her first dung wall attack, she's going to do an egg attack where the big brown eggs will spawn into little scarabs that will attack you. If you want to kill them, you can, but not necessary. Once she hits 0 HP, she's going to become completely untouchable and spawn some minions as well as a ton of scarabs that will fly towards her from the outsides of the wall. You can focus on the minions if you want to, but for speed, you're going to want to focus on the swarm so that she doesn't heal. Every swarm that gets to her will heal her. If you are able to hit the big guys while hitting the swarms, then that is the best way to do it, but don't divide your time too much so that you die. Eventually she will stand back up, and this will be an exact repeat of the previous phase. When she goes down again, there will be 2 new guys, a meleeer and a mage. The major is somebody you want to watch out for, as if he charges his attack all the way around him, it will absolutely devastate the entire team, so you do want to be hitting him while navigating the swarms. And the meleeer is kind of a pushover, but make sure you pray melee against him and try to get rid of him fast because he will also heal Krey. That's basically Krey. Nothing changes here. You can mage it, you can range it, or you can melee depending on whatever your relic is. After this room, we are going to have a helpful spirit show up, and this is typically where every player is going to pick power or chaos. You want to pick something that has the smelling salts in it. This will be a permanent boost to your stats and will make you a lot stronger for the rest of the fights coming up. I'm going to take power here and straight head into Akka. Unfortunately, I have not trained my mining enough to make this a viable 1-down, as well as not having a dragon pickaxe. But as long as you have that plugin from the Krey solver, it should also be showing you where to place your mirrors. Simply place those mirrors and rotate them where you need to go, and then when you start this room, look at the green circle on the statue. When it finally does turn green, make sure that you have a 1-tile gap between you and the obelisk, and click when it turns green. This will allow you to step in and get an additional hit on the obelisk where you normally would not. Once this room is complete, we actually have Akka to fight. The Magers do reign supreme here, as he will always start vulnerable to mage, but be prepared to use all 3 combat styles. Make sure that you use your salt as you go in here. A lot of players in the main game will use the butterfly method, which involves running around in a pattern that makes it so Akka can never actually hit you. This is a bit unnecessary for Trailblazer, but you are welcome to do so if you want. I just find that you miss out on a lot of hits, which in turn will make the room a lot slower. Every 20%, Akka will go into this white phase and not be able to be hit. You'll have to hit these guys in the different quadrants to make him vulnerable in those quadrants. He will also periodically stab his staff into the ground and start a special attack. It can either make your character have a black shadow or a white shadow, or he will phase away into a memory puzzle. Both a black and white can be solved by simply standing still. If you have teammates, make sure that your teammates are also standing still. If you move with the black shadow, you will drop orbs around the arena in the front and back of you. The white orbs will do an explosion in a diagonal and a plus configuration depending, and for his memory puzzle attack, he will shift away and head into the middle of the arena. He will then begin to light up any of the 4 icons in the middle. It is your job to stand on them in the same order that they flashed and avoid all of the explosions. Please note that the one in the video is a lot faster than it typically will be, as this invocation that I have on will make it faster. As for Trailblazer, most of the mages are going to want to maximize their mage DPS, so if you have somebody on your team who isn't a mage, send them as the tribute to tank Akka while the rest of you pound Akka's face in. Once he finally dies, he will start an orb phase, which is notoriously hated by all of the players. Simply choose your moves carefully. He is only damageable by melee, so make sure you have your best melee gear on. Use all of your melee damaging special attacks or whatever that you have. I have every single orb and their true tile marked so that I can see the direction that they're coming even better, as well as where they currently are. It allows me to tile skip them and move around them a lot easier than if I didn't. I personally really enjoy this phase, and make sure to use a good amount of tile skipping, and use your banker's note that I know that you have, and you shouldn't really need supplies in ToA or COX for that matter. As long as you have noted prayer potions and food, you're all set. Now, we're gonna head into Baba. The first thing you're going to want to do is head straight in and grab yourself 1 hammer and 100 potions from the potion box and the hammer box. The berserker people will always be hitting their max hit for the first hit, so this room will be really easy for players who chose berserker. If you didn't choose berserker, however, make sure that you're using the correct style. Mage the melee monkeys, melee the range monkeys, and rage the mage monkeys, and the shamans for that matter. Berserkers will just left click everything in the room. When you enter the room, the first player to enter will be given Atmakin's Sight. This will allow that player to see issues in the room that they have to navigate their team and coordinate with their team to get through the obstacles. The player calling out the obstacles will either say pillars, vents, or DD, which means that everybody needs to get together and use their potions. Simply click the pillar, use a potion above the vent, or dump potions at the feet of all other players. If you're getting low HP, try to send a couple blood barrages here as well. If you've got them, this room is very fast, and it's the only time that I've ever enjoyed the monkey room, because it's very slow and awful in the main game. Now we get to Baba. Baba is the most complicated room for teams because of the cooperation and coordination that you have to do. Run into the room and send as many max hits through Berserker as you possibly can, and if you don't have Berserker, don't feel left out, I promise, they are way stronger than you. Keep damaging Baba until she gets to 90% of her HP, at which she is going to drop rocks from the ceiling that will remain on the map. These rocks are going to be your security from the rock that she's about to throw at you. She will drop 2 rocks on the map, and then in a few attacks, she will throw a rock at all the players in the room. If the rock reaches the player and the player is not standing next to one of the stationary rocks, they will take a huge hit. Keep in mind you do need to divide your team to each rock, so in a 4-man, you would need 2 on each. Now at 66%, she's going to fly up to the top of the map and start throwing boulders down Donkey Kong style. Now normally you really only want to aim at the cracked boulder, with the gigantic black cracks in it. The Mage Relic, however, does allow us to be so accurate that we can actually pick whatever rock we want. Me and my team like to always choose to go straight up the middle, but you can do whatever you want. If you're quick, you'll be able to make it to the top while she's still throwing boulders, and if you're able to make it up here, as long as you don't melee her, she won't stop doing her boulder attack, and will allow you to hit her until she stops. Just be careful not to do too much damage, or you'll take damage from being thrown onto the rocks that are already being rolled. Some things worth noting are if you cannot make it to one of the rocks, or can't coordinate the rocks, heading over to a sarcophagus will also work as a sort of rock safe spot. Make sure that you don't pop open the sarcophagus, however, or sparks will fly all over the map. Also, be aware of the little monkeys that she spawns, as when you're in robes, these monkeys will do a lot of damage to you. She also has a gigantic stomp attack that just makes sure you're not where the dark circles are. Finally, we have the Wardens, and before the Wardens you have one more helpful spirit. And if you pick Power of 4 or Chaos, make sure you choose Life here, as having an Ambrosia and Bruise makes this a lot easier. I like to take out one of each potion into my inventory, and I like to restock it from there. And if you want to set that up, hold shift and left click the supply pouch. It should say swap left click or swap shift click. I swap my shift click with resupply. Once you get into the room, you're going to want to ready up when you're ready, and stand in the way of the skulls that would charge the statue here. The statue that receives the more skulls will be the one that you have to fight. Do not let the one on the left here become the one you have to fight, as it is a lot more annoying. You're also blocking these skulls so that the lamps that come down do not all come down at once, and we get to stagger it a little bit. If you do not stagger it, basically everybody will blow up. Just mage, melee, or range, depending on whatever your relic is, until the obelisk dies. If you're here with the team and you don't kill the obelisk very quickly when doing the skull blocking pattern, when the first orb that is flying at you guys arrives, you need to make sure that you're all standing one tile apart at minimum. When the second orb arrives, you want to make sure that you're either all on the same tile or at least all touching. After the obelisk dies, we're going to head over to this area here and have our mage gear on. He will always start with mage, and now we need to charge up the Warden so that we can attack the core that he throws out. The little skull that he throws out is a ranged projectile, and the big red skull is his mage projectile. Once you've filled the Warden all the way up, he will spawn a little core out of his chest onto the battlefield. Typically in the main game, you will want to melee this, as melee will always hit your max hit. As we hit so frequently with our other styles, just use whatever relic you have. Berserkers will be hitting their max hit no matter what the first down anyways. When he stands back up, he will be weak to range. He will continue alternating like that. The obelisk will also be doing special attacks during this. A windmill, a pulse attack, and the skulls. The skulls are the most dangerous ones, and if you see a skull shadow on the ground, either just stand 2 tiles in a plus configuration from it, or just get the fuck away from it altogether. The other special attacks are summarized by just running across them after they've blinked. Keep fighting the Warden like this, alternating until the core dies. Once the core dies, we are going to head into the final phase of the fight. Use whatever attack style your relic is in and stand on the right side of the middle. To start, we're going to be using these 3 lines here going right, left, and middle over and over again. After the tile shakes, you can move. Every 20% damage, you won't be able to hit the Warden and he will spawn skulls on the arena, which you have to melee. All of your melee weapons will be 1 tick, whether it's a god sword or a whip, it doesn't matter. Quickly dart around and make sure that you've hit every skull until they die. 3 and under players, you will only have to hit them once, and it will go up from there depending on how many players you have. Once you've hit all the skulls, the Warden will take some damage, and you will resume where you left off. At 60%, he will spawn Z-Back on the left side. Z-Back will attack you the same way that he did during his fight with rocks and pots. Make sure that you pray against them while moving. At 40%, Baba will spawn and drop rocks on your head if you linger in the same spot for too long. This attack is basically ignorable, but very damaging if you linger for too long. Once you've gotten through all of these, the 20% milestones and the most of Warden's initial HP, he will gain some HP back and start his Enraged phase, where Baba and Z-Back will be fighting you at the same time, and on top of this, the Warden will gain a lightning attack. There will be lightning all over the arena, indicated by shadows that will grow larger and larger until they finally attack. The tiles on the arena will also start to disappear and make the arena smaller, but the fight is the same without the right, left, and middle attacking. If you find yourself with the Executioner's Axe, you can also just skip this entire fight and attack him 2 times with that and have it be the end. I hope that this video helped you, and if it did, like, comment, whatever. Let's see if we get a purple. Of course we didn't.